Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to this session, part of the TORFEST 2025 integration track. Before we start, please feel free to drop us your questions on the chat window. Also, we will be monitoring it and we will answer your questions there and some live. Today, we have the pleasure to welcome Morten again to the TORFEST. He was a speaker at last year's the TORFEST, a former SAP mentor who I'm now lucky enough to call a colleague, as he recently joined the Integration Suite product management team this year. Today, he will be sharing with us how we can future-proof our scripts in cloud integration. So, without any further delay, hola, Morten, over to you.
Hola, Antonio. Thank you very much for having me again. This is it's the third time.
Third time.
I'm on Devtoberfest, but the first time as an employee, as you point out. I'm part of the Integration Suite product management team based here in Waldorf at the SAP headquarters. Before joining SAP, I've been working with SAP integration for around about 20 years, and I've been part of the SAP community since day one of working with SAP pretty much. I've been involved in a couple of community open source projects as well. Latest one is called CPI Lint, a governance automation tool for cloud integration, and that was in fact the topic of the Devtoberfest session last year. That's my brief introduction for now. Should we just get started, Antonio?
Let's go. Looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, so I brought some slides, and then at one point we'll jump into the system to see these tools. So I need to show this because we're going to talk about some stuff that's not released yet, but I think you've seen this before. So this is the agenda. I'm going to outline what's the problem we're solving here. Then I'm going to introduce you to these new tools in the area of upgrade readiness, and then we'll do a demo. And in the end, questions and a wrap up. And you can ask questions in the stream, and Antonio will monitor it. I can't see it right now, but feel free to also ask questions during the session here. Okay, so first off, what's the problem we are solving? I think most of you who joined today are familiar with the script step in cloud integration. It's very powerful. It's without a doubt, it's the most powerful step in the toolbox, so to say. You can get a lot of stuff done. You can solve some really complicated problems with just a handful of lines of code that would take a lot of steps otherwise to model visually. But maybe the other side of that coin is that you can also introduce code into your iFlow that can become a problem down the line. Listing some examples here, like if you are using unsupported classes from Java, for instance, if you're using Java libraries that are not documented, or using some of the internal classes of the Apache Camel framework. Apache Camel is the engine under cloud integration, and that has a lot of classes that are not strictly speaking exposed, but we'll get back to that. And that you shouldn't do this is already for years well documented. And the reason is that clearly you might add this code. It's very likely it works, but if you use undocumented features, you are introducing incompatibilities that down the line might break when we do a major version upgrade, like the one we did recently from Camel 2 to 3. And maybe, yeah, I want to add, like, on a personal note, that this doesn't mean that it's bad to, experiment, look under the hood, find out how things work. I've done that a lot. It's a great way to learn about the platform. When it becomes a problem is when you take a cool trick and takes it into production, and then all of a sudden it stops working because you used something that was unsupported or undocumented. Um, if you are an integration developer working at a company, or if you are a consultant or independent consultant, the people you're building integrations for will not thank you for this. Maybe in the short term, probably not in the long term, if stuff breaks, right, because of this. So that's the problem here, using undocumented features that might change. I've got a couple of examples here. This is a piece of code that uses the exchange class from Camel. And one thing we see is, for instance, is in the Camel upgrades, classes can move around between packages, for instance. So if you depend on this and it's in another package, that code would break. Here's another example from, this is the Java system class. Specifically here, it's getting an environment variable from the server and executing some logic around that. I can't really blame the person who wrote this, because I wrote this at some point. It's from the CPI tracker project. And actually, when I see this again, this could actually be more idiomatic Groovy by not having the return statement, by the way. But that's not the point. The point is that using the system class here to get at an environment variable, and this is also fragile in the sense that this could change, right, and just or go away overnight. Okay, so I have another piece of code here that does some processing of a JSON payload. And it's using the JSON Java library, or org.json, to parse the payload and pull out some information from this object. And this code works. I don't need to add the JSON Java library to my integration flow. There's no trickery here. This code just works as shown here. So the question is, why does it work? And Antonio will add a poll to the stream, and I'd like you to. Let's take a brief pause here to get your answers in. Does it work because JSON Java or org.json is part of the Java library? It's part of the Groovy library, or it's a documented component of cloud integration, or none of the above. So yeah, let's see.
So the poll is already in the chat. So if you guys can vote, we'll give you a couple of seconds there. We have 2 responses so far. So I do invite others that are on the stream to. I know that we have more than 2 here, so please complete the poll just so that we get the most answers. Let's see. Yeah, people are voting now. We got 4 votes. And let's give it 10 more seconds, maybe.
Sure. And then, yeah, maybe you can tell me at that
Yes.
point, Antonio, what the most popular answer is.
Yes. So the most popular answer so far, we've got 4 answers. The most popular one is JSON Java is part of the Groovy library. 6 votes so far. That's the most popular one, the part of the Groovy library still. Then we have 2 for JSON Java is part of the Java library, and only 1 for none of the above.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, more people are voting for part of Groovy library. It has the most votes. Yep, still part of Groovy library.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Let's move on to what the answer is, and the answer is none of the above. And the reason the code works is that the library org.json or JSON Java happens to be available because it's in there because of some internal dependencies, and it's not documented to be available at all. And that means that this could change, right? Because a developer at SAP might choose to use another JSON library for some good reason. And since this is not documented in any way, this library could go away, and then your code will break, right? So that means that testing the script, even determining that it's working, is not really enough, because that tells you that it's working right now, but you've baked in an assumption about this library being present, right? And that's a bad assumption because it's not documented anywhere. So it could go away, and then the code will break, right? And this, like if you copied some code from Google or from Stack Overflow, I think we've all done that. Or you could have prompted an LLM for some code to parse JSON, and it chose to use this JSON Java library. You could copy paste in the code, it would work and do the job you wanted. Then you might, reasonably expect that this is fine. But it wouldn't be because library might disappear because it's just sort of randomly there because it's used internally. So what you should do instead is to use a supported library like JSON Slurper in the Groovy library, or you can manually, if you really need org.json, you could add this to your integration flow, right? As a resource, as a jar file. It would then be available with certainty and always. So one or the other option, right? But you shouldn't depend on it being available. Okay, so I've outlined what the problem is, and so let's talk about what we are doing now to help you solve this. And that is specifically to add some new tools that help you identify these incompatibilities you might have inadvertently introduced. And also, when it's possible, to also fix them directly in the developer tools. So directly in the integration studio. The first iteration of this is already out. It came out sometime in Q3 towards the end, I think. And that release basically introduced the whole framework for these upgrade readiness checks, and also the initial set of checks. And we have these in 2 places. One is in the design guidelines view, which was already in there directly in the development tools. And also there's a new tab in the script editor called upgrade readiness checks that I'll show you in a moment. And the first checks cover one part is unused imports, and they are meaningful in this context because if you have an import in there, normally it's not a problem if you're not using it, right? But if such a class or library goes away or is deprecated or something, it can introduce compilation problems down the line. The other is about supported classes, and this covers this. I had that system environment variable example, and also stuff like system.exit here on the slide. So this is what it looks like. This is the existing design guidelines view. I think, well, hopefully, all of you watching already know the design guidelines. It's a bunch of automated checks for SAP's design guidelines for iFlows that you can execute directly in the tools. So while you are building the iFlow, you can run the checks and get immediate feedback on how am I doing on the design guidelines. So for upgrade readiness, it's basically just new rules added to the design guidelines, the framework, with the single difference that all the other rules are configurable for your whole tenant, whether you want to include them or not, because you might have, let's say, local development guidelines that are not aligned with these, so you can switch off a rule because you don't want these false positives, or basically you don't want the iFlows getting flagged for something you don't consider a problem. But the upgrade readiness rules cannot be switched off because there's basically no case where that would make sense. You always want to check that your scripts do not contain these incompatibilities that might cause problems for the next upgrade. So that was the one check in the UI. The other one is this new tab in the script editor called upgrade readiness checks. This is for that system.exit example, I think, but it basically lists out the problems and possibly gives you also a quick fix button to solve the issue directly in the script editor. So that's for the Q3 release, getting the framework in place and the initial checks. The next iteration is scheduled to come out in Q4. It's done basically. I'll show it to you in a moment. It's going through QA right now. It has a lot of new features. Main one is it adds checks for these internal Apache Camel classes if you're using them. And not only that, it also gives you replacement proxy interfaces that you can use instead that are upgrade safe, so that are provided by SAP that you can use instead of the Apache Camel classes. It also lets you change these directly in the script editor. And this is all powered by the next version 2.x of the script step, which also brings with it, and this is news, I think, Groovy version 4x. So the next, the script step, next version also comes with Groovy version 4. And you can up and downgrade between the old version of the script step and the new one. Then there are additional checks for using these internal stack libraries, like the org.json example, and so libraries that are in there, but you should not depend on them being in there. And those are coming later. Those are not in Q4. Right. So yeah, let's switch into a system. One moment. And let me know if anything is too small.
If you can make just slightly bigger the integration flow, then it should be fine. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So let's I'll start with a simple example here. I'll zoom in a little bit. I need to move my zoom window around a little bit. Okay, so this is some of the functionality that is already out. 1 second. Everything got really big on my screen. Okay. So I've got some code here already. It's already complaining about some of the lines here, but I'll apply the checks. And I'm already getting this incompatibilities warning here. So let's go into this new tab, upgrade readiness. It complains about there's one or more import statements that are unused, and this unsupported class system in the script. So I'm using this environment variable code here to pull out a value from the environment. And I've got this line used to be in the default script in Cloud Integration, fortunately no longer there because hash map wasn't used. So that was pretty odd. But this is now also flagged. With the unused import, I can choose to say fix, and it's telling me what it's going to do. And I say, okay, yeah, let's fix this. And it basically just removes the import, right? And that's safe to do because it wasn't used. For this usage of the system class, I don't have a quick fix, right? Because that would be completely up to the individual script how to do that, right? So it's only flagged, and it's up to the developer to do something about this. Because I can't replace this directly or in an automated way with an alternative that would do the same or achieve the same goal, right? So there's no quick fix for this. So here the developer would have to do something, and yeah, I'm just going to comment it out and see that the complaint goes away here. But let's instead move to this camel exchange example. I apply the checks, and I'm also getting here this incompatibilities message. And yeah, it's flagging one or more internal classes. And is here right here for now, because I'm still on the old version of the script step, I'm just getting a description here of the problem. But if I now choose to upgrade, we'll see that, yeah, it's telling me that I will be going to Groovy runtime 4.0.26. And I say, yes, please upgrade the script step. And then I can apply the checks again. And now I get this fix option directly in the editor. And for now, I've got this org.apache.camel.exchange import, and I'm using that in the code. And if I choose this fix option, it will then replace the camel class with this proxy interface instead, which is the upgrade safe version. And the code itself is not updated here because it's just referencing the interface, right? So it doesn't have to be, but the import is changed to use the proxy interface, and the checks are now clear. And then maybe let's just run this, because maybe you noticed that I added a property in there that contained the Ruby version. So let's run this and see. Yes, Ruby version 4.0.26. If I then if I choose to downgrade again, it's kept a copy of my old code and will revert back to the code as it looked before I upgraded to the new version of the script step. So I can keep these separate, right? If I run the checks again, my problem is back that I'm using this internal class. Right. Let me switch back to the slides. And okay, it was actually in the last slide. So yeah, that was it from my side, Antonio. If we have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much. That was very cool. What you show how he was basically suggesting, right? And even replacing the libraries that you should be using. We do have some questions in the chat. So, but you know, before we jump to that, I noticed that we discussed Groovy, right? And in the end, I do know that Groovy scripting is what's most popular in cloud integration. But what about JavaScript? Do we have the same sort of functionality for if anyone out there is using JavaScript for the scripts in the integration flows?
That's a good question, Antonio. Right now, this is Groovy specific,
Okay.
including the new version of the script step. It's really the Groovy script step that has a new version.
Okay. Okay.
I actually don't know the status for JavaScript, but what we saw here is specific to Groovy.
Okay, cool. That's good to it's good to clarify that. So we have a question by Kai about if this will be available for cloud integration in the Neo environment.
Yes,
Yes.
this is
Okay.
in both Neo and Cloud Foundry.
Cool. 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 That's good to know. We also
And
have
good
a
question, by the way.
yes.
Very relevant.
Yes, yes, definitely. We also have a question by Simon, who's asking, is there any overview page of all libraries which are supported in which cloud integration version?
Yes, there is. It's actually not published right now, but once this is out, there is a note that goes through all of the classes and also lists all these proxy replacements. So this will be documented in a note. It'll be linked from the help portal, but it's right now it's not published.
Okay, it's funny, because I actually went to the help documentation, obviously, and I started searching for it. There's an item there for ensure upgrade readiness. There's good script, and within it, there's a note. And that note, I click on it, and it actually says that it's not available right now. I imagine that that is the note that you're referring to already.
Yes, that is the
Yeah.
one, and actually that link should not be in there.
Well,
But
I'm
yes,
just telling you this. Yeah.
once this second iteration is out, then this note will be published, and it will list the classes and the replacement, the proxy interfaces.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. That's good. So there, I'm bundling a couple of questions here, which is basically how can we, I think in the end you can summarize them. How can we do or apply these changes in all our scripts? Like, do we need to go one by one and make the changes, or will there be such functionality that I don't know, in my tenant, I can check all scripts for upgrade readiness, and that it can provide me like a summary or an overview of whichever script that I need to upgrade.
Okay, yeah, got it. That is also a very good question. What we saw was very much focused on, let's say, the developer workflow, right? So you're building an iFlow, and you have the tools that you can run continuously while you build. But there's definitely this other dimension also of let's say a governance dimension, and you want something like a dashboard that shows you how am I doing on upgrade readiness. And something like this is in the works. I'm referring back to the disclaimer, right? But yes, something like this is in the works. And because that's a very, meaningful use case that you want to see, not while you're working on an iFlow, but as a whole for the tenant. How am I doing? Generally speaking, also, if you need this right now, all the design guidelines checks are API enabled. So it is possible to execute if you want to build some automation around it. That's possible with the APIs already for the design guidelines. That's a really nice feature that not that many developers know about, I think. But all of it is API enabled, so you can automate this. But down the line, I'm fairly certain there will be some sort of dashboard in there.
Nice, nice. That's good to know. Yeah, especially when you have many integration flows deployed, right? And you need to run these checks across many of your scripts in order to make them ready for the future, right?
Sure.
So we can future-proof all our scripts. That'd be good. Cool. We have another question about debugging of a Groovy script in cloud integration. Is it possible in simulation mode or during a CPA message is running?
No.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's that. There's a comment here which I think it's important to highlight from Figaf. If you need to change many scripts, probably a good idea to have test cases on your iFlows, right? And yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you should be writing test cases for all your well for your iFlows, but also for your scripts, right? Now, Figaf also mentioned that he did get some an email that there is some problem with some of our scripts. So do we have some like an email functionality that we inform customers about problems in their scripts?
That's a good question. I was actually not aware of this, but that
Yeah,
sounds good.
yeah, that sounds good.
I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, me too. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So, but that's interesting.
That would be based on the same checks,
Yeah,
right?
I can
So yeah.
imagine. It's cool to know that every this is also available via APIs because as you mentioned, like in the end, you can do it. You can do those additional checks, automate them, right? That's quite powerful, I would say.
Yes, it is. And,
Cool.
and and so that's not only the script or the upgrade readiness, but all of the design guidelines checks,
Nice,
right,
nice.
can be executed from outside the tenant.
Sounds very good. Sounds very good. Okay, and I would say that with that, we've covered all the questions that are on the chat. So yeah, so I just want to thank you, Morten, for delivering the session and sharing basically what we should expect regarding improving our scripts in SAP Cloud Integration, right? And how we can make sure that they are future-proof. So thank you very much for sharing your expertise and knowledge as part of this session.
Sure. Thanks for having
Um,
me.
I also want to thank the viewers, for joining the session, for all your questions also. And make sure to check out all the different sessions that are part of the TOEFL. There's still some more going on. There is something for everyone out there who's interested in learning about the different development technologies that there are within SAP. So be it CAP, be it RAP, be it machine learning, AI, data and analytics, front end development, whatever it is, it's very likely that we have sessions for you as part of the TOEFL. So thank you. Thank you for joining. And that's it. Ciao.
Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye. Awesome. Okay, so I've stopped the streaming.